Kendra Mowbray will be in a little bit, so we are proud to have them here, and thank you guys for coming in. And again, on a Friday morning, it's April 17th. Normally, we'd be all excited about having our taxes done. Heck, we even got started, many of us.
Good morning, Stan.
I actually submitted my taxes on Wednesday. I actually took my account on Wednesday.
I did too.
So.
Mine's done. So.
No, mine's not done yet, but I
mine's
had
done.
4 returns to take to them, so it was a lot of work. But
Wow. Well, mine's close.
But nonetheless,
Not done.
but anyway,
Hey.
good to have you guys here, and obviously, well, we got a little rain today, which I'm sure Darrell liked that rain because it was getting dry out there, wasn't it, Darrell?
Well, you know what? The rain's fine. I just soon we have rain plus 80 degrees because we need the grass to grow. I'll tell you, it's frustrating out there as far as trying to keep enough grass ahead of cattle, but we're getting there. But for those folks who at home, though, who can't see, I have my camouflage on, as you can see, Stan. Monday's turkey season.
Yeah,
I don't care what else is going on in the world. You know what, folks? It's a beautiful time to get out. It's supposed to be a sunny day tomorrow. Get out and take a drive. The red buds are blooming. The dogwoods are getting ready to bloom. And it won't be long. The oak trees will be leafing out. When, of course, also then the allergies go bananas. But that's okay. Get out and take a drive and look around with everything else that's going on. You can still get out and go and drive. And
Take advantage of the beautiful natural scenery we've got. I'm
That's
actually
right.
going to try my hand for the first time ever at some red bud jelly this
Red
weekend.
bud
Red
jelly.
bud
There you
jelly.
go, yeah.
Never heard of that.
Yeah.
Never heard of that either.
Wow.
Very good.
That's a new one.
But,
Okay.
yeah, and then Monday's supposed to be sunny and 65, so that's not a bad day.
Smoked turkey and red bud jelly.
There
that
you
sounds
go.
like that would go together. I'm into the smoked turkey thing. I don't know about the red bud jelly yet,
No,
but I'll
never
have to
till
try
you
that.
try it, you never know.
Yeah,
Very
but anyway,
good.
I do appreciate Sally coming in. Sally
bet.
was on
Thank
a couple
you.
of weeks ago, and we're still in the midst of the statewide stay-at-home order. And again, it's not a lockdown. I get aggravated when I hear people say, "Oh, we're locked down, we're locked down." We're not locked down, for crying out loud. We've been asked to stay at home and reduce our exposure and our and things. And you know when it's working, it's helping. Last I heard, now Kendra will be in a little bit. Last I heard, we were still no positives even at all in Dent County. And there's not very many counties left in the state
Right.
that don't have any.
Yeah.
But we've been very fortunate. And people, you know, before the stay-at-home order was issued, it was amazing how much people on their own were observing the various protocols to try to keep this from spreading and going on. And then the stay-at-home order then came. I understand it's been extended, and Kendra will visit some more about that. Been extended to May the 3rd, and then they're going to try to get things moving again. And I'm more than ready, and I know everybody is. But at
Absolutely.
the same time, we still want to be smart and deal with this thing. So anyway, but Sally had a lot of great information for us when you were here last time about programs and things that are out there. I've heard of people that have applied and have been helped. I've heard of other folks that have applied and have been very frustrated.
Yes.
And so, but anyway, but I think you said you had some more information or some things
I
to
do.
share.
I've kind of got some updates. You know, I won't go over in detail all the various programs out there. I kind of want to start by addressing what I consider kind of the 100-pound gorilla in the room. If you've been watching the news, the SBA funding for both the Economic Impact Disaster Loan and for the Paycheck Protection Program, which is through our local banks, that funding ran out yesterday. So $350 billion just in those two programs, and we've already spun through it. And it just shows the need and certainly a lot of the small businesses that just drive our communities. Certainly drives our community here in Salem and Dent County. And so... so what does that mean now? Well, there is a proposed bill in Congress right now for another $250 million.
Been there for a week.
I know, and I'm not.
We're not going there,
I'm not going
right?
to comment one way or the
Okay.
other on that. But there is another funding package specifically for those two programs in the works. Don't know what else will be attached to it. But what I do recommend is if you are concerned and you think that our businesses need this support, contact our federal delegation, okay? Contact Representative Smith, Senator Blunt, Senator Hawley, and let them know that you think this is important. And I think it's critical that they hear this stuff right now.
And you know what's important in that, Sally, I think, is if you can give them information about why it's important.
Yes.
Because that way they can
Yes.
capture that, and then they can use that.
Right.
That's what's important. They know the feeling.
Right.
What they need is the
Right.
hard, fast
They do.
information that
They
they
do.
can share with their colleagues.
Yeah. And some of that, I mean, like you mentioned, Commissioner, I know personally, because, of course, I've been helping these small businesses through some of these processes and the frustrations, but I know of multiple businesses here in town who have received some of this funding or have been approved for it, and what that will do for keeping jobs and keeping people employed for the next several weeks. We can't replace that. I mean, that's, these businesses can't do it on their own right now. They didn't create this situation. It's been kind of pushed upon them, and I'm not saying because of stay-at-home orders, but that's not what I'm saying. but the situation, the concerns over the virus, those things have created a situation where it's very hard to stay in business right now for some of our businesses, and so they need some support to keep jobs. So that everyone's not on that unemployment line. Now, thank God, some of that is there and available right now, but it's important to keep jobs so that when we do come out of this, we still have some businesses open who can employ people and continue to provide those services. So just like I said, reach out to our federal delegation, let them know how important this is. We have one business in town who was at the beginning of April, no work. Zero work because of this, because they specialize in something that is a social gathering type, do you know what I mean,
Sure.
event, and so they had nothing. So they're having to completely shift gears at this point. Without some assistance, that becomes impossible. We have another one whose two main customers are in St. Louis and Kansas City. So those folks aren't moving right now, and so without some help, they're not going to make it. So it becomes very important to supporting the families of the people who work in these jobs. And so I would just urge folks to reach out.
Right. And then we have to, as the governor said yesterday, start looking at the factors to getting this going again. But people have to understand it's not going to be like flipping a switch. And as soon as, the governor says, okay, we can start to get back to normal, it's not everybody's going back to work and we're going to go right back to the production we were at that time, because there's still going to be some areas. St. Louis, Kansas City, they're still kind of hot spots. And if you want to call them hot spots, compared to some other cities, I call them maybe warm.
Right.
They don't have that much, but there's enough that we don't want. We don't
for
want
within
it to,
Missouri, they're the hot spots.
Yeah, we don't want it to get out of hand.
Right.
But as you're mentioning, if a business has dealings with St. Louis or Kansas City right now, unless it's a critical business, they're
it's
not
shut down.
open.
Yeah.
And so until that happens, then you got to get your people back in. You got to get them reacclimated. They've been off for a month.
Right.
And all of a sudden they just can't come back in and get started just like it was. So
it doesn't work.
There will be a progression, and I think the governor has a right. It needs to be done in phases. It needs to be phased back in slowly.
Yeah, we need to be precautious.
Right.
Be cautious. Take precautions to make sure we don't become the next hotspot.
But there was some talk, and I was watching one of his earlier releases where he was talking about possibly some of the counties that have no issues, like right in our area. We have this pocket that maybe that this would not have been done statewide. This would have been done regional wide, but it didn't come out that way. And so, maybe somewhere in the next week he may say, okay.
Those who have nothing,
we have nothing. We may be able to open up. Who knows?
Right.
But and if it does that way, then you actually get the ball rolling a little bit ahead of time.
Right. But as you say, we can open up, but if we're open up
and nowhere else is,
nowhere, it all ties in together.
Yeah, we really are much more interconnected. This has brought out that interconnectedness.
We got to get the economy of Dent County going, but the economy of Dent County going means we need to get the economy of the state going, and the economy of the state.
Well, what I'm talking about is
we got to get our national economy back going. And I know what you're saying.
Those non-essential services have been shut down. These barber shops, these beauty parlors, they're not making any money because you got a stay-at-home order and because it's not essential. Well, every business actually, if it's yours, is essential.
Yes, it's essential to my livelihood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So
it gets
so it makes it a little bit harder to say there's not such thing as a non-essential.
It gets plumb zany though. I mean, we've been told to stay home and we can't go to church, so we can't go to church and meet, and we can't meet and have communion where we get this little thimble size thing where we have some fake wine in this little thimble size thing, and we can't meet and have that. But I did hear today that they're loosening the controls so that people can get their mixed drinks, their pints and ale and so forth.
There's some pretty crazy stuff going on.
And make that so much easier because we're really worried about that. And I just think how crazy the world has become sometimes. And we can't get to church and go to church and have communion, but we're going to figure out some way for people to get their booze easier. Right. So anyway, that's a little aside.
Well, but on the flip side of that, though, I do want to say for businesses, a large number of the businesses out there who need the help have applied for assistance. That's why we've spun through the $350 billion already. But For those who maybe are still in process or haven't applied yet, they've been kind of holding off saying, do I need to? Do I? Because if you don't have to take out a loan for your business, don't. I mean,
You can always turn it down.
Right. You can turn it down. True. And that's, a lot, and some folks through the Small Business Administration and even some of our economic development folks in the state, we're telling folks early on, apply for everything. You're going to get denied for some of it, but at least then you're in the count. You know what I mean? You're in the roster for funding. But what I want to say and what I want to get out is if you haven't applied yet or you're in the process of it, go ahead and talk, especially to your local banker if you're looking at the Paycheck Protection Loan.
Keep after it. Don't
Yes.
give up.
Talk to your local banker. Some of our banks are still kind of doing at least the internal, what they do in the bank processing for these. I talked to some yesterday. I didn't get a chance to talk to all of our banks, but I did talk to a couple, and they're still processing with the understanding that, chances of more funding coming through is very high. It's at some point, like you said, we don't know exactly when, but when Congress is done with their shenanigans, we'll get back to. But so they are still accepting applications and doing what processing they can. They can't submit them to the SBA right now, but then they'll at least kind of be in the queue, so to speak. But talk to your local banker, see how they are going to handle it. I did have one recommendation from Missouri SBDC, so Small Business Development Centers, yesterday on a conference call to maybe hold off on applying. So like I said, talk to your local banker, though, and see how they're addressing it. And their thought for holding off was that, as anybody who's been working through this, Darrell, you mentioned the frustrations, the rules are changing as we go. And he just said, just for the Paycheck Protection Program, there are still 2 pages of questions that still have to be answered. You know what I mean? So even though they're rolling out, they're getting loans approved, there's going to be some tweaks and changes to it as it moves forward. But their concern through the SBDC is that there might be some small changes to the application process. Again, talk to your local banker. Chances are if you've already got your application in, they're going to work with you to say, hey, we need to do these 2 things, or we need to refill out this form, and they'll walk you through that. So
or some other questions that come up that they need to be answered.
Right.
And
our local banks have been very good about trying to work with folks. Believe me, it's been as frustrating for them as it has been for everyone else. They're trying to implement a program. They don't know what all the rules are yet. They don't know the details. They're just go. Ready, fire, aim kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, just talk with them. We're all going to work through this together and get through it. But so keep that in process. Now, one thing I do want to hit on, though, are you mentioned earlier, Stan, the barbershops and salons. And to me, those are the folks who are probably the hardest hit right now, because those folks who
Antique stores.
Yeah, but especially the personal services
the personal
sector,
services,
because you can't maintain a 6-foot distance and cut someone's hair, or give them a tattoo, or barber shops, anything like that requires that you can't maintain social distancing. They had to shut down immediately, okay, because they couldn't maintain a 6-foot social distancing, and so they were the first ones to have to shut down. And now they've been the last one. So the Paycheck Protection Program, I don't even know if our banks had been able to open that up for them to apply yet. Those self-employed and 1099 contract workers.
That was a week later, and I don't even think they had everything
That's
out
what I mean.
there.
I don't think they've been able to even apply for this Paycheck Protection Program yet. And then we're out of funding. So don't panic. Talk to your local bank. See what they're doing. Same thing for the EDIL. Well, I take that back. New guidance says that those self-employed and 1099 workers are not eligible for that EDIL through the SBA.
And also let your congressional delegation know what's happening to you as a result.
Yes, please tell them.
You're in this nowhere land.
Yes, that's important for them to know. Very important, yeah. That, hey, look, I've been 3 weeks without any income because of this, and I can't get the assistance programs that are supposed to be working for me. So there's that piece that's available for those folks once they get it rolled up and it's funded again. The other piece is the unemployment program for self-employed and 1099 contract workers. It's not open yet either. And I double-checked before I came in for this program this morning. The system's not up yet. But one thing, if you are self-employed or a 1099 contract worker, you need to go ahead and apply through the regular unemployment system. You will be denied, okay? But that is a prerequisite. It's a requirement that you be denied through the regular system to be eligible for when they roll it out for the self-employed. And the name of that is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. So PUA, yeah, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. It's not up yet. A press release earlier this week, the Department of Labor expects to start processing those next week. I said it's not up yet, but you have to apply through the regular unemployment system first and be denied.
To show that you're not going to
Yeah,
get
to
it.
be eligible for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So again, that's our self-employed 1099 workers, those folks who haven't really had an option to apply for something yet. So yeah.
We had our County Commission Association had a conference call. Let's see, today's Friday, it's been Wednesday. Lost track of the days.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it's easy
Yes,
to do.
it is.
They're all the same.
Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe was on with us, and he was just sharing kind of what's going on the state side. But anyway, and he mentioned on the unemployment thing, and he said in one day last week, they had more, what was it, than all of 2019?
I don't know.
2019 or 18, in just one day, the call,
More,
the
Yeah.
deals for information. He said, I think the figure he told me was they had 66 million people that
Yeah.
qualified for the $600
Yeah,
unemployment
additional,
bonus.
yeah.
But as you say, some of these, be prepared for it to take a little while when some of these
Yes.
people that know they're not going to qualify, and it'll be frustrating knowing you don't qualify and be spending a lot of time, seem like wasting time to go through a deal that you're being turned down. But again,
Right.
as you say, you got to go through the process,
Right.
or otherwise you can't get to the next step.
Yes, that's
the next
correct.
possibility. Also, one part of our industry we haven't talked about much at all as far as is the ag sector,
Mm-hmm.
agriculture. And actually, I was back and forth with the conversation this morning with Congressman Smith, and they did work on some things, and there will be an announcement coming out possibly today of quite a bit of relief available for the ag sector as well, because this
Good.
has been
Right.
it's been devastating on the ag sector, particularly on livestock and on cattle. On cattle are bringing right now $150 to $200 a head less, just feeder calves.
Yeah.
But the worst part of it is what it's done to the system as a whole, and the backup. And we've had plants shut down. There's not even any place to go. These cattle, you can't just put cattle on hold that are in the feedlots and
Right.
the cattle that are feeder calves. And so now them cattle are sitting there. So when this thing finally does start opening up, you've got all this backlog of animals, and
Yeah.
that'll just drive things down even worse than what it was. And it's just almost
Yeah.
cataclysmic
Yeah.
effect.
It really is.
And at
on
the
the
same
ag
time,
sector.
Darrell, will drive the price of that beef and
So low,
and
yeah.
pork higher. No,
Well,
it'll
for
be
right
higher
now, right,
because
for
the
right now,
demand,
yeah.
the demand's going to still
Yeah.
be there, but there's not going to be product.
Right.
Well, Tyson, different companies have announced closures of plants because
Yes.
of the COVID
All across the
virus.
country, yep.
All over, yeah.
And it's
So-
it's pork, it's chicken, it's
right.
turkey, it's beef, it's you name it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So it's quite a deal. So anyway, Congressman Smith, Jason, I just call him Jason.
Gotcha.
He's said, there should be an announcement coming out very, very soon about through the USDA some help on this, because there was funding included with that
Right.
program. It just they were still
haven't
been
rolled it
working
out yet.
working out their kinks and
Yeah.
details. So anyway, wanted people to know that. And
That's good. That's good to hear, because I get asked that a lot. Is there anything for ag sector? And I'm like, well, you can apply for this one. Do you know what I mean? I
Well-
believe the Paycheck Protection Program is one, but a lot of the ag sector
Yeah.
doesn't have employees on that larger scale, and so
Right.
it's yeah,
Right.
it doesn't really work for them. So yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's amazing when they put these bills together, and they're doing it rapidly, and you understand that. But, most of our Congress people have never owned a business.
Right.
They do not understand agriculture at all because
Right.
they're all come from a larger city. And so when they get up there, the only thing that they can negotiate and talk about is what they're familiar with, and it's things that
Right.
80% of the United States isn't even touched by what they're doing. Self-employed people
Right.
and the agricultural business.
Right.
You look at the whole midsection, you got more territory in the middle part of the United States. It's all agriculture,
Yeah.
and these people have no idea, except for those people who live in those states.
Right. Who come from those
that's
areas?
why why they depend on input from back home.
Yes.
Their people, and I mean, I get calls periodically from Senator Hawley, Senator Blunt's staff people,
Right, wanting to know,
Congressman
yeah.
Smith, and not so much Congressman Smith, because we're in contact quite a bit anyway, and some of these things here he has a pretty good finger on, but otherwise they're calling and asking, how's this affecting you guys? What's going on?
Right.
What do we need to know? What I need to know, and what I need to send back to
Yeah.
Blunt or to
Well,
to
and
Hawley.
not as much, I haven't been here as long enough to have established that same kind of relationship, but I know in previous life for me, when you do reach out to these folks, to our senators and our representatives, they are generally very grateful to have that input. They want to hear from the citizens on genuine concerns and issues. That's what they're there for.
Yep.
And so please do reach out to them. Express your concerns. Share with them, like Commissioner Skiles said, share with them what you see happening so that they understand what the issues are.
Right.
And sometimes there are unintended consequences to things that roll out. Let them know what those are. You can't fix it if you don't know what the problem is.
Yeah,
so,
call or
yes,
email, and
right.
Just get that message to them.
Right. So,
you
so
know.
those are the big points. I want to let folks know if you've heard that those programs are out of funding. Yes, temporarily, something is very likely, though, to happen. So hang in there. Talk to your local bank.
Probably quicker now.
Probably. It's how quickly you get on the phone or email or write a letter to your local representatives and senator might make a difference. But, let them know, reach out to them, and know that those programs aren't just going away right now. There's probably going to be funding coming through, and don't give up on it. It's a frustrating process, but keep at it. And I've told people that don't give up. Keep calling, keep applying, keep trying.
I think Lieutenant Governor mentioned, I think we were like the 8th in the nation in the most number of people that applied for the paycheck protection.
I heard a number similar to that. Yeah, we're way high in the number of people who have applied.
$6 billion of that
Right.
money ended up
Here
coming
in
to
Missouri.
for paycheck
Right.
protection. So a lot of people
Yeah.
did get it and qualified, but
Yeah.
it's sure frustrating for those who wallowed around with the changes and
Absolutely.
things and
Absolutely.
haven't quite made
Yeah.
it through. So anyway,
So I know I need to get running, but real quickly, if anybody's listening who has any questions, I'll give my contact information again. I'll leave it with you, Stan, if that's
Sure,
okay. And,
absolutely.
So if you want to reach out to me, I can be reached via email, and that is economic. So ECONOMIC at salemmo.com. economic@salemmo.com. And that's my email. And I can also be reached via cell phone right now. And that cell phone number, it's of course local, 573-453-6871. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Doesn't matter. There's no stupid questions right now because nobody knows what's going on because I don't even have all the rules out. So, please ask. I'll be more than happy to walk you through, share with you what I know, what little I know, because it's changing daily. Some of the businesses I have a full email list of businesses that I'm sending updates as they come out, and bless their hearts, I'm surprised nobody's told me to cease and desist yet, because sometimes they get 3 and 4 and 5 emails a day from me because it's, you need to know this. Do you know what I mean? Here's a change that's happened. And my intent is not to flood them, but make sure that they have
we
access.
get a lot of those, and then we get the comments, and then how it's actually being applied.
Right.
By the time you read it, and then 3 hours later you get a change.
It's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
it's-
It's
You can't even implement that. So
right. Very hard to keep up with. So
we thank you, Sally, for
Absolutely.
all the work that you're doing and
Thank
trying
you,
to keep
gentlemen.
on top of this, and I keep the oars going because it's all uphill with the river.
right now, that's right. That's right. But anyway, well, thank you, gentlemen, for having me today.
Appreciate you.
Like I said,
thanks for coming.
anybody, don't hesitate to give out my contact info. That's,
Got
if I had a big billboard right now, I'd put it out there. So thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks. See you,
Thanks,
Sally.
Sally.
Thanks. I'll take that.
You got it?
Yep, I got it.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
All right.
Darrell, you want to introduce your guest number 2?
We got another one just made it in the door.
Straggling in.
Kendra Mobay, Director of the Dent County Health Department.
Excuse me.
Got some just update for us since we were last talking about this, or what's going on, Kendra?
I do. I'm sure everybody knows by now that the governor extended the stay-at-home order through May 3rd. So we'll talk about some soft openings, I think, starting May 4th.
Oh,
I'll try.
sorry.
Okay, we're going to start. Kendra's going to start over. We didn't have her mic turned on.
Okay.
She may need to move in there.
No, she's fine.
Okay.
Am I good now?
You're good now.
All right. So I'm sure everybody knows by now that the governor has extended the stay-at-home order through May 3rd. We'll talk about hopefully some soft openings starting May 4th, and I don't know exactly what his plan will look like, but if we get any information before he releases that in a press conference, we'll try to relay that information as we can. We update the numbers still every day on our Facebook page. I get a lot of questions about testing and how much testing we're doing. I think some people are concerned that we're not testing enough. The testing criteria is out of our control. That's regulated by the Department of Health and Senior Services. But I will say that the providers in Dent County are aware of the symptoms. They're aware of the testing guidelines, and if they're truly concerned about a patient that doesn't meet criteria at the state level, they're still sending those labs to a commercial, or still sending those tests rather to a commercial lab. So there hasn't been one patient that I have been concerned about in the community that hasn't had a test done.
Needed, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And so no positives yet for Dent County.
Nope, we're still at 0.
How many counties are there that are still COVID-free? I know the number kept dwindling down.
That's a tough question.
Last I knew it was about 30 something, but I didn't know what the figure was.
I think we're in the low 20s right now.
Yeah. So anyway, still doing well though. So
We are.
anyway, people have done, and again, I go back, I said, I get aggravated when people would like to use the term lockdown, because it's not a lockdown at all. People are still free to go to Walmart, get their things they need, go to the grocery stores, go to the convenience stores and get their gas, do whatever. And you can still go out, and we were just talking earlier, it's going to be a beautiful weekend, be a good weekend for people just get in their car and go enjoy the scenery, the redbud trees and so on, but just at the same time be mindful of the stay-at-home order and the distancing and the social distancing and those things like that. But we're very fortunate and very blessed to still be COVID-free at this point. So.
Sure. And I think the numbers speak for how well Dent County citizens have respected the social distancing orders.
Yeah. Yep. So,
We get a lot of calls that there's a lot of traffic in town, and that's okay. Traffic is okay as long as people are staying 6 foot from other people and not gathering inside buildings. It's okay to be outside and be traveling just as your household unit.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was kind of funny yesterday. I went to Country Mart last evening, and I saw two friends sitting in cars, one parking space apart, and they were talking to
Shouting
each
at
other.
one another.
Yeah.
That's great.
I said, well, I mean, that's longer than 6 feet. I said, but it's a unique idea.
Right.
That they're coming up with that, and they're parked far away from everybody. And I went in the store, and I came back out, and they were still there talking. So, I think that's a great way of trying to accommodate that need.
Absolutely, and it's very important to keep your spirits up and mental health healthy.
Yeah. It's a stress.
Yeah.
You can feel it as a palpable stress on everybody.
Yeah.
Of having to go through this, and everybody's ready for this to be behind us and get back to whatever the new normal will be, and hopefully it'll be very close. There'll be some change.
And everyone making these decisions is ready to get on the other side of this
Oh,
too,
man. Let me tell
and
you.
save as many lives in the process as we can. And it looked like a long extension because he made the announcement 2 weeks before the end of the order, but he actually only extended it 10 days.
Yeah.
It wasn't
It was supposed to end on the 24th anyway.
exactly.
So
Right.
extended it out another 10. So it's
Yeah.
not.
Well, I heard St. Louis had already done it that morning.
And
ahead
Kansas
of time.
City, yeah.
That was one thing I heard, and I hadn't realized when I talked to somebody else that the governor had extended that afternoon, and so that email came in like at 4:50 or something of that nature. I missed that one. So, if somebody's asked me, I said, well, all I know is the city of St. Louis and Kansas City both had extended theirs, but I wasn't aware of the statewide one. I said, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did, but I just wasn't aware of it yet. But anyway, he has another press conference today at 3. I got an email on that. Don't know
Every
what
day
that's
at
all
3.
about. Yeah, But supposedly going to be on some of these plans to the soft openings as you're talking about. So, he kind of just touched on it yesterday, and then I think today it might be a little bit more detail on how they plan on doing that. So,
Yeah, and I think when we do these soft openings, people are still going to have to be aware that there's vulnerable populations. Our nursing homes are still going to be a place that's very vulnerable for contracting the illness and it's spreading, and we may see a rise in the numbers whenever we start to open back up. But we need to be mindful of the residents of the county that are at most risk, and we still need to take care of those people and be
I
precautious.
wouldn't be surprised if there's not an extended period of time of no visitors and things in some places.
right,
And
I would think so.
just because, as you say, of the vulnerable populations and so forth and so on. So, but at any rate, we're hopefully getting over the hump and can see a little bit of daylight at the end of the.
Yeah, he
at
did
this
say
time.
it looked like we were nearing the peak or close to the peak yesterday, maybe in the middle of the peak. I'm not sure. I haven't seen or talked to the epidemiologist that he's talking to, but it's in his conference yesterday, it sounded pretty promising. What we're doing is working.
Right.
It's hard to see right now. A lot of people didn't get to see the predictions in the beginning, but we have absolutely lowered the numbers by substantial amounts.
Right. They had
Yeah.
originally predicted Missouri to peak in mid-May, right?
Yeah, May 20th.
Yeah. So,
And if we could, Kendrick, go back a little bit, because I know, I mean, it's been talked about ad nauseum, maybe perhaps, but for people who still don't understand why there's such a deal about this issue versus, say, the common influenza and stuff, it has to do with the fact, two things. Number one is that there really is no treatment, no antiviral that affects it. It's like if you get the flu, they'll give you Tamiflu,
Right.
or some of these other things that
Right.
work directly to on that particular virus and control it and bring it under control. But there really is nothing that's been identified yet that does it. Basically, it's just supportive treatment to try
Right.
to keep you alive until your own body fights it off. Is that fairly accurate?
It is,
in this?
and along with not having a treatment, we don't have. First of all, we don't have a vaccine, and second of all, we have no herd immunity. So what happens? Even though not everybody gets a flu shot, everyone, or a very large percentage of the people are exposed to influenza every year at some point
And that's
during
when
the
you're
year,
talking
and
about
you have
herd- and
a
that's
you
when
have a
you're talking about-
large herd immunity in the community,
Right.
which keeps your vulnerable populations more safe. So you have a vaccine, you have herd immunity that develops because of our exposures all year long. Our bodies have never seen coronavirus before. We don't have a vaccine and we don't have a treatment.
Yep. And that's why this has gotten such special attention compared to the other viruses, flus, and different things
Right.
that hit and so on. And it's been so much harder for them to get a handle on, and the concern. And the contagion factor is extremely high due to the fact that nobody has any built-in immunity for that particular. Yeah. So anyway, once in a while I hear somebody say, well, why in the world are we just about destroying ourselves over this versus the flu? And you can easily go down that road. However, there are some major differences and reasons why
There are.
this is different. And so, again, I think it's fair to say that the steps that we've taken have probably helped keep it from just going rampant all across the state and the country and so on. And so,
They absolutely have.
Anyway.
And if you want to talk about history a little bit, in 1918, when the Spanish flu
oh yeah,
came to town,
Mhm.
it was very similar to what COVID looks like now when no one had immunities to it.
Yep.
And
right. So anyway, so
little different though nowadays, and because back then, you didn't have really many cars.
sure.
So people couldn't really, they were pretty well localized, but you had trains, and trains is what spread that, and that's from my understanding, is that all you got to hit one person on that train, and the entire train was infected. And of course, who knew, right? When you
Right.
didn't know if you had it or not, and that's how the Spanish flu just went bonkers,
Right.
went crazy.
Yep.
But otherwise, it was just people on top of people, especially if it gets into New York, and we all see what happened with this in New York. Everybody lives on top of each other. They live within feet of each other. Chances are for spreading there is high. And same thing in Boston, same thing in Philadelphia. There's very, very not a lot of room between homes, or you're in apartment buildings, and where you can get spread very quickly. Get to the Midwest when people have their own houses and spread a little bit more, a little bit different situation. But trains, you're stuck. Planes, you're stuck. You're within inches of that.
funny because we talked about it here, but several years ago, HUD, EPA, and the Federal Highway Administration had a grant program they put out, and Merrimack Regional Planning housing projects. And I remember the director, the head of the Federal Highway Administration, made the comment of how wonderful it would be for our economy, for our planet, and for our environment when we had the masses of our working population living in multi-level, multi-family housing projects within walking distance of their work, of their food sources and their entertainment, and eliminate the need for vehicles and so on. And I've thought about that several. And we, to be honest, it as you read more and more about it, it read just like the old United Nations Agenda 21, some of their garbage and stuff. And we ended up knocking it in the head and said we don't want it. And across the state, finally, we told them keep it. We weren't interested in that stuff. We've seen that what happened with the housing projects in St. Louis and these things. It just don't. And I knew that the head of the Federal Highway Administration wasn't going to put his family in a multi-level, multi-family housing project. But I've thought about that as we've gone through this. I thought, I'm glad we don't have everybody in Dent County living in multi-level, multi-family housing projects. And I mean, where you run into problems is where you have exactly that type of living condition. Look at New York, look at these cities and some of this stuff that, no, you're better off if you're spread out. Their goal in this was to curb urban sprawl and keep people from moving out of the cities and out into the country and buying their own homes and all that. But at any rate, I've just thought how insane, and it's just funny that it kind of came around to, at least from my perspective, it showed why those kind of things sometimes, somewhere down the road, that could be a really bad deal, and that would have been. So anyway, but the people here in Dent County, we've been very blessed to avoid it so far, and hopefully here pretty soon we can start getting things moving back the other direction. Everybody's ready. I think everybody's ready to go in their favorite restaurant and sit down and have breakfast. Or
I am.
And
yes.
as we all know, as it's starting to warm up now, it's like Darrell said, turkey season starts on Monday.
That's
a lot
right.
of people will be out and about a little bit more because it's starting to get warmer. We're talking 75, 80-degree temperatures. People will like to congregate around picnic tables. Guys, really just don't do that, okay?
Yep.
I mean, if it's maybe you and your loved one, that's fine, but you don't invite the neighbors and everybody else out to your barbecue yet.
Household units.
Yeah,
Stay with your home.
yeah.
Don't go outside your home. Just stay with the people that live inside your home.
Yeah, I saw a family at Country Mart yesterday. I mean, it was mom, dad, and the kids. They were all there. You know, I'm thinking, okay, and they all stuck pretty close together as they walked through the store, which, you know, well, that's good. You know, they're not. I know as a kid, I would be running away. You know, I used to do that. My mom would be in aisle 3, I'd be in aisle 6. You know, looking for the animal crackers or something. But and then she'd be looking for me, and I said, well, I know where you are. You're here. I'll find you. But it was good. People are sticking around together, and everybody that I have seen has been abiding by at least trying to stay 6 feet apart, even in line. So I'll give my tip of my cap to the people I saw at least last night that were doing that. And like I said, most of the meetings that we're having now, like us, the Salem R80 board meeting, everybody was spread apart. Had a lot of those people by Zoom. Also, now coming up, the hospital board meeting, there will be no open meet. It's an open meeting if you want to join via conference call or video, but it will not be in the hospital because they're not allowing visitors in the hospital. So that one you have to call Karen if you want to get the link to that meeting. And so we'll make sure that people understand that. Not that a lot of people go to the hospital board of directors meeting itself, but if you want to attend that, you'd have to do it by Zoom or by just phone conference call. They will have that way. So people are trying. They really are trying to keep
They're doing a
that.
great job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, the courthouse is still closed and will be closed, I'm sure, until through the May 3rd period, and we'll see. There'll be a lot more information coming to us between now and then as far as how we'll go about this. But it has been closed. The phone numbers are on the doors for people to call, and there's still absentee voting going on. They can call and they'll let them in one at a time so that they can maintain and control those distancing issues.
Or they'll come out to your car.
Or they'll come out. But yeah, if you need, but there's lots of ways if you need to pay taxes still or work with the assessors. They'll let you in and you can still conduct business. It's just in a more controlled environment. Commission's still down to, we backed off of the 2 days a week to just the 1 day. So anyway, but just everybody's just kind of had to change a little bit how they go about doing the things they do every day. But again, but hats off and a pat on the back for the folks in Dent County. You know, I really haven't heard a lot of any really major complaints. I think people have taken it to heart that it was a serious issue that we're working through and understand. All you got to do is watch TV for just a little while every night when the 6 o'clock news is on, and you'll get that feeling pretty fast. If you can stand to watch it all the way through, my hat's off to you. I can't.
Yeah.
myself.
Don't try watching CNN or Fox. Or
I want my hats off though to Kendra and her staff because they've done a yeoman's job too of monitoring this as we go along and keeping me and the commission and Brad Nash, our emergency management director, they've all worked together well, and we get updates and we meet, get together but spread out time to time to share information and see what's what and what do we need to know. And so anyway, really appreciate their efforts on that. We haven't heard anything yet as far as I know. Lieutenant Governor Kehoe, I mentioned earlier, we were in a conference call, Commission Association with Lieutenant Governor Kehoe on Wednesday, and he mentioned the appropriations bill that I don't think the money has actually gone out yet. I think there's about $6 billion that the state has to get federal dollars that were sent to the state to get out and most of that will be going out to the local. Now, as I understand it, that all that $6 billion actually is to go out, and that actually the cities, the major cities, of over 500,000, I think, were actually supposed to apply for their own share of that. So it's kind of an interesting deal there, because I really figured the bulk of that was going to end up going to the two big metropolitan areas. But if I understood him correctly, anyway. But I think he pointed out, though, it can't be. The point of it is it can't necessarily be used to replace lost revenue. That's a whole separate issue for us. And for the county, it's a huge issue. We're already seeing revenue. Yeah. For April, every revenue was down, but that revenue being down, sales tax revenue being down that we just got for the April report has nothing to do pretty much with what was going on here. That would all be earlier in the year sales tax revenue. So we'll be feeling the effects of this big time come here in May and June and July and all summer. That's the deal.
Sure
but,
will.
you know, we'll deal with it.
Now, we want to remind everybody the health center is still open, but you guys have limitations to that opening, right?
By appointment only,
Right.
yes. You can walk in for vital records, so birth and death certificates. You can walk in, fill out an application, and get that printed right then. But any other services by appointment only. WIC is all over the phone and by mail, and that's been a great process. The clients have done a really good job at helping us stay organized, letting us know when they get their checks in the mail, and it's gone well. Yeah.
Do you all have any kind of an estimate, or I know you're probably keeping some track, but any kind of an estimate of what additional expense or how much additional expense you've been out due to working on this issue on? Because that's probably some information we're going to need somewhere down the road as we go along. I'm not asking for I don't need an answer now. I know that's not a
Yes,
fair
we're
question
keeping
here,
track
so-
of
yeah.
all of our expenses
We're
for
going to
the-
need some of that information probably somewhere down the road if indeed we get some money from the state for that. Because I think, health departments across the state are kind of in two different ways. They're either through the county and included in the county budget and depend on the county budget for their revenues, or they're a separate entity like Dent County is, where they have their own board that's elected locally, and your revenues go straight, and it really has nothing to do with the county commission and so on. But as I understand it, it sounds like any revenue that comes from the state is going to come to each county commission, and so which is kind of an interesting deal, because we don't really even have a vehicle anywhere in our budget for the health department to receive some of those funds. So, but
Something
anyway,
new to discuss, Doug.
yeah, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out if we have to amend the budget and do something. That's what we'll do, and we may have to amend it in a way the state auditor doesn't like, but that's okay. The state auditor will get over it.
They're flexible.
Well, no, they're not really, but that's okay.
No, I'm lying, Darrell.
Sometimes we just have
Being
to tell them.
facetious, they're flexible. Auditors, sure, they got a sense of humor too.
Yeah, really, I've never seen that either. But anyway, it's all right. Kendra, I do appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thank you, appreciate
Anything
it. Kendra.
else?
Nope.
Keep
Very
on
good.
keeping on.
Available by phone during hours, and then we created just a COVID email for people to send questions if they have them after hours, and I try to check that 3 or 4 times a day. Dent County Mo COVID-19 at gmail.com. It's on our Facebook page.
Right.
Every day when I update the numbers, I update that.
That's Dent County spelled out. Mm-hmm. Say that again.
Dent County Mo COVID-19 at gmail.com. And then our phone number is 573-729-3106.
729 what?
3106.
3106.
Yep.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kendra. Take care.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
All right. Well,
Okay. Now we're about ready.
15.
Now we're about ready for
Now
regular.
we're about ready for work, right? Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate Sally coming in, Sally Burbridge, Salem Economic Development Director, and Kendra Mowbray at Dent County Health Center Director, kind of giving us some update and some things. So, good news on the side there that we really don't even have any positive tests yet.
No.
It's,
And they've had quite a few tests and nothing there, and that's good.
been a lot of tests. Yep.
We continue to keep healthy right here and keep any cases from coming up, and that's good. All right. Well, Darrell, as you mentioned earlier in our conversations here about the county sales taxes being down, but, one of the numbers when I was looking back, I said, the April numbers last year were extraordinarily high anyway.
Yeah, they were.
So this report that we got was kind of, it was, I won't say it's an oxymoron, but last year was an oxymoron of getting them so high. Really, we had 2 months last year that were unanticipatingly high.
Yeah.
April and December. Both of them came in way over what we thought.
Right. So
and
this
then other
month-
ones were way low.
So now for year to date this year, we're down year to date
Right.
this year of what we were, but not really alarmingly or anything. It's not all that big a deal. But at any rate, our April sales tax it usually comes in somewhere around the 6th, 7th, or 8th of April. Treasurer Danita Williams did come in with that, as you said, Stan. Our general revenue and law enforcement sales tax, they're both their half-cent sales taxes, and they're down about 6.8%, down $23,000 roughly from what they were a year ago. And we don't like to say that's not real alarming because, as you say, it was higher. We know it's going to be down quite a bit more probably as a result of all this as we go on through the
May,
summer.
June,
here
and
we
July,
start
as you
getting
mentioned, that's
some of these.
we
So
getting-
hopefully, if we can get back in gear, our tourism economy and some things can pick back up. You know, the riverways pretty well shut down, not allowing. Of course, you know, March and April are slow times for the canoe rentals, and you know, tourism basically in March and April centers around. Let's be honest, Montauk State Park, and also Echo Bluff State Park, as a lot of people will be coming through Salem as they go to Echo Bluff.
That's right.
Stop off at Walmart, pick up supplies at the various convenience stores and things, Dollar General.
A lot of campers that come through.
Yeah,
Pick
so
up a
you know
lot of-
that's pretty much the tourism thing that shows up then. But those dollars don't show up until May, June, July anyway in the sales tax
Exactly.
reports. So
you
we
know,
know with
you got turkey season coming up, and you know we got motels closed.
yeah, and that's the sad part. Generally, a lot of I know at least one motel I know usually is just about full.
Yeah.
For turkey season. Now there'll be some that will show, but
Sure,
it's
but-
going to show. But at any rate, Road and Bridge, we have a 1/4 cent sales tax. It's down about 5.9%. It's down about $9,200 from what it was a year ago, and then the two jail funds of a half cent each, they're down about $18,000, and they're down about 5.7%. So. Every year about the end of December, particularly in January, we would start on budget. General revenue for some time we've had over $1 million surplus left. We're doing something well. We're gonna probably find out this year why. It's a really good thing to have a nice healthy surplus sitting
Just
there.
see how big a pile of money that
And,
really is, huh?
You mentioned office holders are going to have to try to toe the line. I know the sheriff has talked about it and doing some things, maybe holding off. He had a budgeted purchase of a couple of vehicles that may just end up putting off till next year. There's some work that we were wanting to do. You know, there's just different areas that we're going to be looking at, trying to kind of pull back and see where we're at here. And
Right. You had planned on some courthouse repairs. Is that still going to go through, Darrell? Is that
we'll
still kind of weighing right
probably-
now?
We'll kind of hold off and see as we get along here through the year and what this is going to be. Yeah. So, you know, any repairs that have to be, we'll take care of those
yeah.
things. There's
Necessary
some other
repair.
things there we may not end up doing this year.
Okay.
Treasurer Danita Williams also came in. Every spring we get our National Forest revenues. That's actually a Secure Rural Schools Act fund is where that comes from these days, our National Forest revenues. I think total was about $208,000. And of that amount, Dent County Road and Bridge gets $52,200. The schools are the main beneficiaries of those dollars. So the R80 school district, and again, this is based on how the amount of national forest land lies within these
districts.
particular entities. R80 school district gets $38,300. R1 school district $31,600. R4 school district gets $1,300. The Viburnum school district though gets $24,700, and then this is real huge for Bunker. Bunker school district gets $60,600 of those funds, and so those come into the treasurer, and the treasurer then will send those dollars out to those respective entities and place in those funds. So they're always looking for that.
Yeah, Bunker gets it from 3 different counties.
Yeah. They get from Dent, Shannon, Reynolds, but you know that National Forest revenue and what's paid under what's called the Secure Rural Schools Act. That's a constant battle every year with the feds to keep that program from being shut down. It originally started out actually as being our portion of whatever revenues were that came off of the National Forest,
Right.
and timber sales or what have you, and those went into a pot. Well, years ago, when the Forest Service started curtailing the amount of timber that could be cut for all the various reasons, spotted owls and what have you, and all kinds of junk, they kind of replaced the formula instead of being a portion of actual revenue. They replaced it with a formula that's worked into what's called the Secure Rural Schools Act, and so that's where all that comes from. So, did want to mention that. Also, want to mention though the Road and Bridge Department has still been taking care of business. It hasn't slowed all this dealing with coronavirus such hasn't really slowed the Road and Bridge Department down. The guys are trying to operate while maintaining, their social distancing and so on, coming in, but they've still been working on the roads. They've been grading, hauling material, removing trees and limbs. We had about an inch of rain in some parts of the county here a little over a week ago that had the crews out repairing some washouts and had some wind.
Except for Bunker, where their cat grader went down.
Yes, we had one of the graders went down, so it is under warranty. The Caterpillar folks maybe coming to pick that grader up and bring a replacement grader.
Kind of slowed things down there for a little while.
Did for a little while, yeah. Transmission quit completely on that machine, so don't know exactly what was going on there. Something computerized. I can just
I'm sure.
So, but at any rate, such as that. We also, the commission did approve. Every year we put out for bid for culverts, and we did approve a bid of $18,400 from V. Brock, for whom we bought culverts from many times over the years. And for these are 15-inch and 18-inch poly culverts. We've gone to a lot of these black poly culverts, and they work great. They don't rust out. They're actually easier for the crews to work with and to put in place. So
saw where MoDOT done that too, I guess, because
they're going to more and more.
where our tap grant is being done out there on J Highway. I saw exactly the same culverts sitting over in the parking lot over there, getting ready to be put in. I think those were 24-inch. To be honest with you, they were pretty good size.
Yep, probably so. We probably got some 24-inch out there, but this bid was just for the 15 and 18-inch. That's the main size we use on so many of the roads for crossovers and so on. So anyway, we did get that done. I do want to mention, if somebody has an issue, if something going on with the road, just call and leave a message. I mean, there may. Depending on when you call, if you call fairly early in the morning, there may be somebody right there at the phone. If it's a little later, everybody's out and gone, but they do take those messages, and they do respond then to those messages and try to, obviously you can't get to every single issue.
It may not be the next
at the same
day.
time, or depending on the seriousness of the issue. But I mean, we do depend on that. We had recently, a while back, a young lady was very unhappy and was on Facebook and expressing her unhappiness, but unfortunately she'd never talked to any one of the three commissioners, never called the Road and Bridge, and just I myself, Stan, I don't understand this thought of going on Facebook and ripping people anyway. I don't understand why people want to use Facebook to try to tear people down. It's such it's a social platform that lends itself so easily for poor social interaction, seems to me. If I've got a problem with you, Stan, I'll call you and say, hey, Stan, what the heck? And then we can thrash it out. But to just go on Facebook and rip people and go and tear, that's not very constructive, and it's not constructive at all.
No.
And so.
But it's easy to do, Darrell. You're just sitting there typing away.
It's too bad.
You don't have to look at anybody. You don't have to talk to anybody.
Yep. It's kind of a coward's way of handling things. But at any rate, I won't go into more detail about what I think about people that use Facebook that way. But at any rate, if you do have an issue, problem, please call the Road and Bridge Department, leave a message, or please get a hold of one of us commissioners and
you're in there Monday from 9 to 12, and that's a big 3 hours to call.
That's right, and we get calls all the time from somebody who was trying to get a hold of us, and the county department will get a hold of the appropriate commissioner and his road crew and to get it taken care of. We've got over 600 miles of road, and we were looking. February have a day or two after the rain to let it dry out enough that you can grade and so on. So and there's no way we can always be abreast of every single road and how bad it is, and we know they got bad with potholes and stuff.
Sure.
That's just the way a gravel county road is. And so as we become aware of those, the guys will get out there. They're working every day, doing whatever they can to keep the roads in as good a shape as we can. So
we all know the next thing will be brush. That'll start growing like crazy.
The guys are cutting brush year round.
Yeah,
to be honest, though, it takes pretty much 1 year the guys are cutting year round on both districts, and it takes pretty much a full year to make the full circuit around all the roads. Because you figure over 600 miles of road, that's just
That's
one
1,200
side.
miles.
Now you're trying to do both sides. That's 1,200 miles, and you're talking about a 5 or 6 foot cutting machine. A lot of times they have to make 2 or 3 passes down each side of the road to get,
Right.
because they're not just cutting the road bank. They're trying to get up on the sides and reach up and cut any limbs that would interfere with the road grader or other traffic coming up and down the road. So I will say, though, we get a lot of compliments from folks who appreciate the job that the guys do with the brush cutters. Years ago when I was a kid, Stan, when the county didn't have a brush cutter, if you wanted the brush cut along the road, the
Go out and do it yourself.
landowners had to go out and do it.
Yep.
And for that matter, it was kind of the same way sometimes on snow removal and things. So anyway, matter of fact, down below, just south of my house, there was a bridge. It was a wooden bridge years ago, and so my dad got a crew together. If the county paid for the concrete, so my dad and some local folks there in the community got together and built that bridge across that little branch. So it's just, so we've come a long way since then, though, and the crews really do try to do the best they can. And if folks have an issue or problem, just call the road and bridge number there, 729-7770, and talk to somebody there, or leave a message, or at least let one of us commissioners know the specifics of the problem, and we'll sure try to get it taken care of, because that's our goal. So anyway, the sheriff also was in. He did have a recommendation for computers for the new jail for the various workstations, and we did approve his recommendation for the low bid for those computers of $11,600. We also approved a change of going to family trash service for the courthouse and new jail and down at the sheriff's office for dumpsters. And I believe that was a quote of about $411 a month, if I remember correctly. I don't have that exactly with me. And then also approved the sheriff's recommendation for a sign for the new jail up on 5th Street. So
Right.
Shive Hattery's been here this week. I was in visiting with them one morning, and they went over some things. There's still some changes and some things that they got to catch up on. This all this stuff with this COVID virus is that's kind of worked against us a little bit as far as in timing and getting, obviously. We had at one time tentatively talked about trying to do a ribbon cutting and opening on April 11th. And with all this that's happening here, that kind of got backed up. We're still hoping that we can do something with a ribbon cutting, but it's up in the air as far as how and when that would be. Because of the social distancing issues and concerns and so forth, so on. So we're still looking at that. We still have not taken possession yet. There are some things we need a Shive Hattery and the construction firm to take a look at. The sheriff's been doing some intensive training and looking at some things, and they want, before they take possession, a couple of things looked at and addressed before we do it. So, and the time to look at it really close and try to get those things addressed is right now, before we take
Get anybody
possession
in.
and start
You
having
bet.
people in there and then trying to work on things. There was some painting that was done inside we felt was sloppy and not up to the standards that it should be. So the firm has been called back, and they will have to redo some of that, and just some other things, some issues with some railing where some cables need to be put in, and some other things. So a lot of different things there. And again, this dealing with this COVID virus thing kind of held some things up there that otherwise we would have been farther along. So
Always something, Darrell. It's always
anyway,
something.
well, Stan, I don't really know that I have much more. We'll be monitoring information coming from the governor about getting things moving and reopening again. And
Yes, sir.
again, we look forward to getting all this behind us. And
Isn't that the truth?
yep. So, but again, I really appreciate Sally Burbridge coming in, and folks, if they didn't get her number, her email information is economic@salemmo.com, or her Sally Burbridge cell number 453-6871. She'd be glad to help you with any information she can about help for businesses and things
Right.
to get through this economic time that we've got. And then Kendra Mowbray is at Dent County. The information you can get is Dent County Mo COVID COVID 19 @gmail.com, or call the health center 573-729-3106, and they'll share with you any information that they can.
Okay, so let's remind everybody what Sally said, that both the PPP and the EIDL are both out of money right now. That doesn't mean you still can't talk to your banker, but Right now, they are out of money waiting for this
The PPA.
PPP. It's PPP, Payroll Protection Program.
Yeah, PPP. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking here to note about PPEs.
Yeah.
The state had a problem. They got a lot of PPE, stands for personal protection equipment, masks for
Right.
fire departments, emergency responders. They got about 48,000 of them out a couple of weeks ago, and then they found out they had to recall them because of a manufacturing problem, and so they had to get those all back. But they did get a deal worked out with 3M Company, and 3M Company shipped out 50,000 to the state to replace these 48,000 that they had to call back. So that was an interesting little glitch. So
Yeah.
PPEs, PPPs,
Yeah,
BPAs.
there's a lot of different things out there, but the Payroll Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, again, they're waiting for before they ran out of money. That didn't get done because they're trying to attach a bunch of stuff to it. Darrell, we always, trying to get things done that are not needed at this time. They're just not part of what we need to get done, and I don't care what party it is that wants what. If you need to get this out to help small businesses, that's what it should be all about, not your own personal agenda and trying to get something passed through because you think somebody needs flowers over here or something like that. Some things are crazy that they try and add onto these bills. So impetus on them to try and get that done now, pretty quick. So anyway, let's hope that they do that. But contact your bankers, what Sally's saying, whoever your bank might be, and they'll tell you kind of what direction to go. Again, for those self-employed or 1099 employees, if you want to try to do that unemployment, you do have to apply for unemployment. They're going to turn you down. The EIDL program, the EIDL, it's not going to be until probably next week, and they're going to have the stuff out for that. Same with the Payroll Protection Program, possibly next week. They're supposed to have that out last Friday. I never saw anything come out on it, Darrell, so I'm assuming nothing did. And so that's the unfortunately for those people in that situation. That's a lot of businesses, Darrell, too. They're kind of out there waiting, and I don't know. It's a hard thing to do. But we'll definitely, hopefully, if you keep on top of that and keep asking questions, don't give up. And there'll be help out there for you. We're going to be back again May 1st.
May the 1st.
May Day. Hopefully, it'll be a good May Day, right?
Right in the middle of turkey season, Stan. Yep.
You going to come in camouflage?
I might be tied up.
Well, you might.
No, I'll be here. We'll be back here May the 1st.
But hopefully you'll have your birds already checked and done by then.
If I haven't got him in the freezer, I'll bet I'll have him on camera anyway. I guarantee you that. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough.
Easier to clean on camera.
We do remind everybody that the commissioner meetings now are only on Mondays from 9 until 12 until all this situation has changed and they open the courthouse back up.
4-4.
I think so.
I think. I never
never call it.
I never call my office number. 729-3044.
I think
Yes.
that's what it is.
Yeah, you threw me a curve there for a minute.
Yeah. If not, or if you have a voting question right now, because I know we aren't having any April elections and people, they kind of see everything feels weird. We're not paying taxes on this time. We're not voting at this time. So people are getting kind of out of sync.
Yeah.
And so, but if you have voting questions about absentee voting for the June 2nd election,
Call the county
you
clerk's
can't
office.
register for that election. That time has passed, but you can get an absentee vote put in. And you still have till May 20th to get a mail-out ballot done as well. I want to remind everybody about that. You can call collector's office. You do know that number, I know.
The collector's office?
Yeah.
No, I know the clerk's office.
I mean clerk's office. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the clerk's office. Call the clerk's office, 729-4144.
There you go.
That's the number I find myself calling most of the time as we're trying to go through taking care of the county's business budget and so forth.
I think I
and so
did
on.
say collector, but it's a clerk. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right. Very
Stan's
good.
You're trying to throw me curves here all morning, Stan.
Did it work?
Yeah, it did. It did. But anyway, we will be back here.
All right.
And again, it's going to be some beautiful weather coming at us. Get out and enjoy the beauty of the red buds are just tremendous. Now I understand there may be going to be a hard frost in the morning.
Yeah.
So hope it doesn't whack them too hard. But it won't be long. The red buds will be blooming. The oak trees will be budding out and leafing out, and the allergies will be be just crazy at that time then.
Sally's going to have Red Bud Jam.
Red Bud Jam. I don't know that I've ever heard of Red Bud Jam. But at any rate,
We do want to remind everybody that this program is paid for by Darrell personally. There are no tax dollars. There are no county funds being expended to make this program happen. He does that to keep the county informed, our listeners informed, and the people of Dane County informed about what goes on in their county, and also to keep them up to date, as was the program today with Sally Burbridge, the Economic Development Director, and also Kendra Mowbray about important issues that are affecting your county. And it's, Darrell, we've been thanking you for this for a long time, and we continue to do so, sir.
well, thank you, Stan. You're very welcome, and I do appreciate the opportunity. And we will be back here on May the 1st. I hope folks heard something, learned something that will be of help or interest to them here today. And again, I do appreciate Sally Burbridge and Kendra Mowbray coming in and sharing the information they had. And so anyway, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. And until then, I hope everyone will be safe, happy, healthy. God bless each and every one of you. And we leave you with this.